The backbone of the industry, how construction foremen keep projects running smoothly. So in this video, we're going to talk about the focus of construction, which is the work package. So would you like to know what the work package needs, how we can do our planning successfully, and how your work package or the work package interacts with others in a one process flow? If you want to, this is the video for you. Stay with us. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about some really neat concepts right now and make sure that we're on the same page. Then I'm going to talk to you about how we can approach this topic in a really intelligent way. So get ready, we're about to blow your mind. So first and foremost, when you have an area on a project site and you have different rooms or sections or pieces of work or whatever the case may be, you're always going to have what's called a standard space unit. This is the smallest divisible unit in the project whereby you can build your work package, which will have a zone and a time duration for it. Okay, so you have to know what your smallest divisible unit is. The other thing is you have to know what is your standard time unit. Typically in construction it's a day. Like if you're doing ship refurbishments or other types of construction or manufacturing, sometimes they're down to the hours, but for us typically it's a day. And so what that allows us to do is gives us the aggregate base information for us to plug into the calculator and then identify what your zoning should look like and what it should include on the project, because then your zone tells us how much work needs to be done. That then gets translated into what's called a Takt wagon. This means how much work you can get done in a zone in a certain takt time. The takt time is there for a rhythm. Okay, so if there's work to be done in here, let's say that currently it's framing, for instance, right? You have a time in here, and let's say the overall takt time was 3 days or something like that. Let's say it takes 2.5 days of time to get the framing done. You also have some buffer time in here that will absorb any variation and any productivity loss. Okay, this is important because we need to know how work is packaged. So the idea here is you have to have enough of a buffer to not push and rush and panic the workers, but not too much to where workers are standing around. So this is kind of an art, and this is the basis for it. So once you have your wagons, then you can go into what I call a phase, which is the basis of all of our construction scheduling. So if you have, and I'll just draw with my marker, this is a takt wagon, takt wagon, takt wagon. You get the idea, going through multiple zones, because obviously you're going to have multiple zones here. This is going to create what's called a phase. That's that parallelogram that we continue to talk about in these videos. And we know that at each of these levels, there's a certain amount of planning here. What goes on up here for the standard space unit and the standard time unit is we have to know the density of work and the direction that we want to go, that we want to flow in. So what we need is each of these zones to be packaged properly, and we want to know the direction that they will flow from zone to zone. So that's what we need to know here. Inside the actual wagon itself, we need to know that the actual crews can fit within this takt time, meaning that they can fit and that they're packaged and leveled appropriately to fit so that they can flow. You'll get to identify your takt time, and you'll get to identify how to package the work with the crew inside of it to get done what they need to get done and how much buffer do they actually need. Inside the phase, there's a couple of things. You're now looping this into a sequence, which I'll mark with an S. You're identifying the flow from zone to zone to zone in what I call a line of balance. And we always make sure that we have a buffer to absorb the risks of the phase, and that we always pull plan 3 months ahead, do quality pre-con planning 3 weeks ahead of the task, that we look ahead to remove roadblocks, and that we align our supply chain with a buffer to these tasks in that framework. So this is the framework for everything that we do in construction and in construction scheduling. What makes it work, that we know that people have to work in standard space units and time units. We know that we want a rhythm to keep consistency so that we have this really good, the reason that we have this is because we want that good diagonal trade flow. And the reason we put it into a phase is to make sure all the trades are flowing at the same speed within reason, unless you have a multi-train takt plant. So this provides the backbone and is a really, really nice visual for anybody who wants to understand how construction works. So there's a couple of things that enable this. We've already talked about how great construction managers will make sure that you have the people, the plan, and the resources, which I will do with RES, to accomplish this work package. But there's something even more that we have to look at. In order to make sure that this is done properly and that a trade partner can execute it, that trade partner in that zone has got to bring the people from the actual contractor, the tools and equipment, okay, plus the training and the know-how. Okay, so this is important to me because when you're talking about a trade partner, yes, that is the right term, by the way, they've got to make sure they're hiring the right folks, that they've got the right tools and equipment, and that they've got the training and expertise. So our message in construction is, if we're going to go do that, the team has got to be trained to do that, and that's a heavy focus. Now, the general contractor within reason, meaning sometimes this varies back and forth, it's the general contractor's job to get the materials, okay, the space, to provide the time, to provide the permissions, and I'll just write permissions here, to provide the culture, to provide the respect, the information, and the layout to get this done. Okay, this is all very important. This is the general contractor's job, and so the trade partner's got to bring a certain level of expertise, and the general contractor has got to bring a certain level of expertise. But the key thing here is, yes, it's based on the right zoning. Yes, we've packaged it properly. Yes, we have a buffer. Yes, we have everything we need, but we have to be looking at how we integrate with other contractors. And so let's say that this wagon right here is that wagon right there. The other key thing is there's a wagon behind that individual that will come into that same zone to do that same work. So we've also got to add to this list, we've got to add collaboration with the other trades. This collaboration ensures that when this trade partner comes into this zone and does this work package within this takt time, everything is demobilized, they have what they need, and it's an empty open space where they can do their work. Everybody essentially needs four things. They need the training, they need the tools and equipment, they need the space to work, and they need the time to do their tasks. And so this is the key. Now, I want to tell you two more things that are really, really interesting. And if you like this video, I really want to encourage you to like and subscribe to this channel. The key here is that most people don't see, which I'll just go ahead and pull this up real quick, is that this is the central focus of everything that we do. The crew with the foreman in that work package. So when we're over here organizing project management systems, it is our job to always make sure that we have the right team, the right plan, the right resources, the right culture, and I'll just go ahead and do the right training, okay, all according to a takt time, okay, with visual systems according to the last planner system. And what you'll see here is a really interesting pattern that I like. It's not that we have these separate disconnected things, it's that everything we do is to get that crew what they need to go build that work inside that work package, and it's a brilliant concept. So these things have to run through the takt time in a visual manner to enable the trade partners to have what they need. So that's the pattern That's how I encourage people to look at it. Nicholas Modig in his trainings, he always talks about organizations think of themselves as silos. No, no, no. Everything should create flow over to that work package. So this is the brilliant concept that I want to talk to you about now, is that when you get to that zone, the information should be packaged into a lift drawing or shop drawings for that work package in that zone. When you go over here and you open up your materials, those materials should be kitted or prefabricated in a manner that they can show up pre-staged, ready to that zone for that work package in that takt time. And when the trade partner comes, the tools and equipment should be packaged before the work happens or the morning of, right on time, so that workers can start. Could be or should be designed for that work package in that zone. And everything is based off of the pattern of design, fabricate, deliver to the job site according to that work package. So you're probably like, Jay Money, this is a whole lot of theory. Yes, but what I want everybody to stop fixing on, this is the typical design phases. This is the typical way we fabricate materials in bulk. This is no, 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 no. Everything should be catered to this work package and catered so that we can flow together going the same speed, the same distance apart. So I showed you all these concepts and gave you a framework, but really the question is, are you designing a production system to where your foreman can start in that takt time with the information per the work package, materials per the work package and kitted, and the tools and equipment ready in gang boxes, Paul Akers style, for that work package? Until we get to that point, we're not going to be as effective as we need to be. And so I'm going to link you in the description below to a blog post talking about this so we can all work on this together and head in this direction. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.